the podcast and some high stress moments that ended up being one of the most epic nights of my life, but we won't have time for that today. So anyways, okay. Hey everybody, this is Chad Jordan from Sport Clips. This is another edition of our Hall of Fame podcast, and it's going to be a good one. I've got literally a rock star with us today, so we're going to get into her rock star status. Birthday girl. We just spent the day yesterday traveling all around her market and doing some fun stuff. But without further ado, why don't I have you introduce yourself for me, please?
Hi, I'm Debra Sawyer. I'm a team leader with stores in Virginia and in Florida. And this is my 14th year with Sport Clips, and I've got 21 open stores. I get the keys to store 22 on Friday. Store 23, I already have a signed lease, and just threw down an initial LOI on store 24.
And I said we toured one of your markets. I should have been more specific. We did not go all the way to Florida. We went around the great state of Virginia and Richmond and had some good times. So we're going to get into some cool stuff today. Debra and I, again, she spent her birthday driving me around, eating Chick-fil-A while she drove. She's a multitasker. She's an amazing woman. You're going to find out more about her story, obviously, today as we dive into it. But one of the things that we kept talking about was her franchising experience at Sport Clips, kind of what got her started. Her and her ex-husband, Tony, how many years ago?
We're in our 14th year.
14th year, yeah, so 14 years ago, decided to do this. So we thought the theme of today's podcast could kind of be the highs and lows of franchising and entrepreneurship and all that kind of fun stuff. So we might dive deep into some scary territory. I might not for the YouTube version. Hi, if you're watching this on YouTube, but maybe for the podcast version, I'll put in like some dum 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 music or something when we go to one of the challenging periods of being a team leader. Because the truth is, any job, any entrepreneurial endeavor is going to be fraught with risk, is going to have some scary moments, and it's how you battle through those and survive those that really test your mettle and prove who you are. And Debra and her story have just been so amazing that I had to get out here and capture it. She, like I said, she's a rock star. So we're going to get into some of the awards that she's won, some of the fine moments in her career here at Sport Clips. But let's take me on the journey real quick. I told you we wouldn't go back too far and get into all the details on when you signed your franchise agreement. I don't even know all that kind of stuff. But where were you? You're a mom of, you got what, 2 daughters?
Yeah, 2 daughters. They're 13 and 16 right
now.
Mm-hmm.
So and your background, you're a numbers lady.
Yes.
Smart. I'm literally the dumbest person in this room by a country mile. So your background is what?
I'm a CPA and a certified financial planner. I have a master's degree in taxation.
And you were doing fine in life 14 years ago. So why franchising? What led you to sport? Walk me through all that if you don't mind.
So being a CPA and a financial planner, our neighbor they were looking at different franchise opportunities, and they're like, hey, will you help evaluate the different opportunities that we have? And so we kind of looked at it. My ex-husband was also involved in it because he's a CPA and a financial analyst. And they were looking at all sorts of concepts from used clothing, food, and Sport Clips was what they were looking at on the hair side. And we really liked the hair industry. We liked the fact that it's not something that's trendy, although the haircuts might be trendy. Mm-hmm. And it's not something that even if you're unemployed, you're still going to get a haircut. You might expand your haircut cycle, but you're still going to get a haircut. I also had a background in hair. My grandmother owned 3 full-service beauty salons in San Francisco. Mm-hmm. So when I was a little kid, I used to be with Grandma for the day and swept up hair. She gave me 25 cents, and way back then you got multiple pieces of candy for 25 cents. Mm-hmm. And then in high school and college, I did work for another hair care salon as a receptionist. So they owned 7 stores, and I worked for them both in high school, and then I transferred to their location when I went to college. So I'd been in the hair industry, had been around it. I was a little bit more comfortable with it and was able to recommend it to our neighbors. So they ended up signing on with Sport Clips.
Was Sport Clips already in the Virginia market at the time?
There was one store open.
Okay.
VA201.
So it was emerging, but it's not like it had household recognition.
No.
Nobody knew who
Not
Sport
at all.
Clips
We
was
had
at the
seen
time.
it. We had lived in Texas, and so we had seen a store in Texas, but that was about it.
Mm-hmm.
So we ended up signing on. We became the first team leaders in a different market. So we actually took the market away from Richmond.
You advised this neighbor.
Our neighbors signed on. They signed on in Richmond.
And you liked it so much that you thought, well, why should we just, if we're going to recommend it for somebody else, maybe we should had you already been thinking about franchising yourselves, or?
No,
it was this whole thing that kind of walked you down the path of.
Yeah, when I walked away from public accounting and the partnership track, I was going to end up buying the textbook company that I went to work for, and I was going to be buying it from Generation 2, and they're like, in 5 years, you're going to buy it. 13 years later, it was still in 5 years. Wow. Because they went through some situations of one of the owners got divorced, and he's like, hey, I still need a job. I'm like, okay, well, I don't need you because I can write around, everything that you do. So we was like, all right, let's start our own control our own destiny. So that's kind of
your daughters,
what we did.
Man, they're literally one's in diapers at that time, right?
When I actually first met my area developers, Jessica she would have been under 2 months old.
Oh my gosh.
My first real estate tour, I was literally nursing, looking at real estate with her.
So is that how does that factor into your decision? As you got this transition in your life, you got two little munchkins. Is it, hey, we better make this decision now, or was it scarier because look what we got these bundles of joy and we don't want to mess this thing up?
I think coming out of public accounting, where you were used to working like long days, the joke back then was billing more than 8 hours. So it was very standard to work 10, 12, 14-hour days, especially towards tax season. 18-hour days were not unheard of. So it was a bit of a challenge. I was lucky in the fact that I got to write the textbooks from home, and then I would be on the road teaching, but I'd be out for 3 weeks and then back home for like 2-3 months. So I had a little bit more flexible job. So it was a little bit crazy when you have 2 full-time jobs, 2 little kids, and then you threw Sport Clips. Yeah. And we also opened 4 stores in under 18 months. Don't recommend that, just for the record.
Did you only open stores, or did you buy any existing stores?
No, we opened it first.
Okay.
We opened 4 stores before anything ever happened.
All here in Virginia, or where? Okay.
All in Virginia. So that was kind of just right out of the gate. And we wanted more than 1 store quickly. We were the first team leaders in the market, so we had wide open real estate. And we really went after multiple stores because we're like, what if store number 1 isn't good? So we wanted that diversification right out of the gate. And let me tell you, it panned out well. Store 1 and 3 were strong out of the gate. 2 and 4, not so much.
But you had coverage because of the strong stores.
Yeah.
So
that kind of led us down that path of being able to keep going as we developed those 4 stores.
So how long before you realize this thing can really work and I might be able to transition to this full time?
Quite a while. I will say the president of Sport Clips, after we opened the 4 stores, came out and was touring and asked to meet with us, took us to dinner, and he did say, and just, Gordon is aware of this now, he asked us, it was Cleet, he's like, knowing everything you know, would you do it again? Without hesitation, my ex-husband and I were like, yeah, no, and there was probably a few more words, as you can guess, before the word no.
Well, how many years is this in?
We were still under about 2 years in at this point. 4 stores open, 2 years in.
Yep.
And we're like, yeah, no, wouldn't do this again. We're like, full-time jobs, 2 little children. Yeah. And doing this, nights, weekends, this is what we're doing. And, stores 1 and 3 good, 2 and 4 not so good. And, it needed that time for those stores to develop. And I remember when we had a 5th license and they're like, are you going to build the 5th store? And we're like, yeah,
Over our dead body. Right?
Yeah, no. And I remember when I bought a 6th license, to build another store, and I called Cleet and I'm like, I'm just going to tell you this now. I just bought a 6 license and I'm building that too. And then we bought some stores and just kind of expanded
So
from
the
there.
real question then, I mean, this is the whole probably point of today's podcast. What changed? Like, how do you get from over my dead body to how can I get more licenses and keep going with this?
Yeah, because then I bought 5 licenses
Right,
in
yeah.
Florida.
I mean,
I've bought
right.
more. Yeah, I've acquired
I mean,
more
you're at
licenses.
22, 23, 24 stores at some point. So how do you get there? What changed?
One, you really have to believe in the model.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of it has gone back to, we bought into a system. We are CPAs, we are definitely financial people by the books.
Yep.
And even over the years, like I have improved as a team leader, really have upped the game in the last several years.
Okay.
With the
pause
numbers.
there. How? What did you do early that was not leading to success, and what did you change?
In the early thing, you're like, okay, we open the store, we close the store, we're good, and it was like, I'm not gonna, if my team doesn't want to educate clients about product,
That's on them.
It's on them.
Okay.
I don't care. They're not going to bonus. Great, I don't have to pay them a bonus. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
And we moved forward, and then it was like, you know what? We signed on to this. We're going to follow everything that Sport Clip says. We're going to do the 5-point play, and really, step up the game. And I mean, I started with Sport Clips way back before we didn't even have like 30 and 1. And those who've been around, 30 and 1. And like now even 30 and 1 is way dated.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just more like we really have improved our game. We are not just a haircut place with TVs. We're about that MVP experience.
Yeah.
And that's where I've become very successful.
And not just with the clients, right?
Mm-hmm.
That MVP experience with team members
The
as
team
well,
members.
which is and me interjecting here, and then get back to you. Like I visited 9 of your stores yesterday with
Mm-hmm.
you, and you had a personal relationship with every single team member that we walked in there. It happened to be your birthday, so that was pretty cool because they were. I don't think I could have any more Mountain Dew or donuts today, and I am going to North Carolina, so it's going to be some more probably coming. But they had cards for you, they had flowers, they had gifts, they knew you.
Mm-hmm.
So was that missing in the early years? That connection with the team members, is that kind of where?
I mean, in the early years, I used to load my 2 kids up in the van on the
Mm-hmm.
weekend, and I would deliver toilet paper, paper towels, dum-dums. And do the circuit driving this to the stores, and some of the stores were an hour, 2 hours away, and it became less of doing that and like, hey, Sam's Club, they deliver, like
Right.
order online, take care of
Gotcha.
it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Into let's really focus on the business and let's invest in that. And like even in this last couple weeks, I have invested in extra training classes. Luckily, I was able to work this out with DVE, and our reps brought in educators in 3 of our different product lines. So we've had education classes in 2 of our product lines. We have a 3rd one coming in September in both states. So I've done extra classes, 3 classes a day for 3 days in Virginia, and then repeated it in Florida.
You've literally doubled down.
Yeah,
in your,
literally.
especially on education.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Like educating, and I'm seeing the results. I am anxiously awaiting the results of last week, because I really expect I've got the #1 store in take home from last week, and if they don't have it, I'm going to be bummed because they missed it 2 weeks ago by a penny, and they upped the ante. And
I have a feeling, I have
Threw
a
down,
hunch for knowing what that number is.
yeah, it's above $5,
Yeah,
so I
that's
cannot
amazing.
wait.
Yeah. So what else changed in you to get you to a point where you're able to make this successful from those early years where you were struggling and not sure this was the right fit?
One of the things, and even Sport Clubs had us talk about this when we had multi-unit huddles and things like that, they'd always talk about how you are structured. And for years, we'd always talk about we're structured how we should have been for the size of the company 2 years ago. And really having that support team, and having the support team, I call them my senior leadership team. So it is me and 3 other people working full-time on my stores. But we all focus on what we enjoy, what we are good at in doing for our stores. So Gina is my director of operations. She loves marketing. She's on your calls every Wednesday. I know that she's there from Wednesday 12 to 1. So she does what she's passionate about in helping the stores. And so having that support team, with Gina Megan, who's my director of team development, so she's the interface with all of our applicants, and she loves scheduling, bless her heart, because she's having to do all that for all the stores. And then Amy's my director of finance, so she helps me. Obviously, she handles payroll, helps me with the finances. We're actually closing out our books after this. It's only the 7th of the month, but we are on top of our game. We close out by the 10th of every month, so that way we know exactly how we did. What do we need to go back and fix? What went wrong last month? What went right?
Wow, so you're quickly calibrating and pivoting
Yes.
to stay with trends or whatever's changing.
Right, and that's things that, I mean, when you have a portfolio of stores, you'll have stores that are going up, stores that are going down. I have 2 stores that are under major renovations right now in the shopping center. So it's been, challenges there. That was one of the situations we were dealing with yesterday, that we had gotten word that porta potties were being brought in. Luckily, it wasn't needed. They got a power supply back to the sewer system. But it's, then you've got other stores where the community is the housing market, everything is just building out, and you're like, okay, we keep adding team members, we keep adding more floor hours, and it's like, that's still not enough. They need more.
So it forgive me, this is not the right word. Everything, your support team, it's like a luxury. It's not, but that you're able to have at this level.
Yes.
You probably started building that support team at what? When you hit 10, 11 stores? Or?
No, we started earlier, and normally you start talking about that support team once you're above 5 stores.
Okay.
And at 5 to 9 stores,
Okay.
that's when the conversation is leaving your day job.
All right.
And then it's, what sort of support team person are you getting? Are you getting an office admin, or are you getting an area manager? It really depends on your personal skill set.
Gotcha.
What you are good at doing.
So it was Amy kind of your last hire? I mean, were you doing all that kind of stuff yourself?
Yeah,
The financial?
Director of finance is definitely the last hire.
Okay. For you?
Yeah, for me.
Right.
A lot of people will outsource. They'll use bookkeepers. Being a CPA, for better or for worse, I do my taxes, but that's what I did for a living.
Yeah.
So I can do it. I'm dealing with IRS audits even right now. That's just the standard part of business. I've got 2 audits going on, which is normal. You go through audits every couple of years, and I'm able to just handle it myself.
But it's funny too, because you're a CPA, so by trade, by background. So an audit for you is like, oh, that's no.
Yeah,
most people, when they hear the word, like I had my own business at one point. I was audited. That literally caused me to have a panic attack. I nearly checked into a mental institute thinking about an audit. And you're like, oh, it's no big deal.
No,
all right.
No big deal. I mean, you just I know that there's
if
that's
you keep good numbers and you're really honest, really by the book, you got nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
All right. So you have, again, that word luxury. You're now at a point. You survived those early years. You've got your support team.
Survived is a good word. Yes.
Yeah. So how did you do it without a support team? Like what if you had to travel 14 years back in the past? Yeah. Go back in the past and tell Debra, hey, make sure you do this one thing in these first 5 stores, or you're going to go insane. What looking back could you tell yourself?
You need to empower your team, empower your manager.
Okay.
But you also need to be involved and be present. You need to support them in their decisions of hiring and, unfortunately, sometimes terminations. But you've got to be there to support them. We have that luxury of doing a lot of things that some managers might have to do themselves. If you're with a smaller team leader in a smaller group, we want the managers focusing on managing the store. I cannot cut hair. If you've been in my store when I've been there, even the guy at the hotel heard my spiel. He's like, "Hey, I just saw you in your store."
What? I've never heard a team leader do that, and I loved it. And a lot of the times I'll hang out with a team leader, a guy, or it'll be a husband and wife or whatever, but rarely is it just the female. And so I thought your approach was great because, you see a woman dressed in Sport Clips gear standing in front of the store, you think, oh, that's a stylist coming into work. And so why don't you describe what you do so that maybe other team leaders out there can adopt the model?
Okay. So when I'm in the store, I will always address the clients waiting in the lobby. And I'll be like, hey, I just want to let you know, I'm Debra, I'm the owner. I am not a licensed stylist. So you do not want me to cut your hair. You want to wait for these lovely ladies or guys, depending on who I have on the floor behind me. to do your hair. And, we kind of have that interaction and conversation with them. And I will even joke with them, like, hey, I can do your taxes if I'm working on the kiosk, because obviously I'm heavily involved with Salon Ultimate. I'm like, I can work on your computers, I can do your taxes, I cannot cut your hair. And they all understand that. And I think some of that also comes back to when I was a receptionist, for 4 years, just having a lobby full of people like looking at me like, come on.
Yeah, exactly.
You told me it was a 15-minute wait. We didn't have technology back then. Like literally I had paper tickets like lined up. So they need to know. You need to communicate with them that, hey, I'm not blowing them off. I literally can't cut hair. You don't want me to cut your hair.
Yeah. You survived those early years. You transitioned. At what point did you start to breathe? Are you breathing easier now?
Depends on the day.
Okay, yeah. So, but at what point did you kind of exhale and go, all right, this is my future?
When I quit my day job, that was the big thing.
Okay, no turning back.
No turning back, and it was one of those things. And Keith Kostick, who's my area developer for Virginia, we both had been talking about quitting our day jobs. It was like one of those things. Like, we have to quit. And ironically, we both gave notice the exact same day.
What day? What year is this? What are we talking? Maybe not the day, but the year.
I want to say 7 or 8 years ago.
Okay.
So we both gave notice in January. We both gave like 2 months notice. And so our last day was in March of that year. And I remember like I gave notice. I called him. I'm like, Keith, I finally did it. He's like, no way. So did I. Like we both finally had done it.
Now, is it when you give that notice, is it a mixture of fear and excitement, or was it all one or the other?
It was definitely a mixture. I felt like as a mom, I wasn't doing a good job. So I had 2 kids that I wasn't doing a good job as a mom. I was spread too thin. As an employee of my former company, I didn't feel like I was doing a good job with that either, because
you weren't given 100%.
I wasn't given it 100%. And as a team leader and owner of Sport Clips, I also wasn't giving that. Yeah. So I felt like I was halfway doing 3 jobs: a mom, an employee, and a business owner. Right. So something had to give. And it let me, when I left my day job, I had started coaching my oldest daughter's cheerleading team, and it let me, continue to coach for that. So I did that for 5 years. It let me, get more involved with my children, be more present for them versus, okay, now I've done my, 9 to 5, if not longer job. I fed you. Now let me do my Sport Clips job. Well,
and that's the dream of a parent as a franchisee, is to be able to spend more time with your kids. It just, the early years, it was a little tough because you still had that full-time job as well.
Yes.
So, but you did eventually get to that point, and so we talked about some of the dum-dum-dum music, some of the dangers. What have been some of the highlights over the years of, all right, I'm glad I did this. Here's some of the payoffs. Here's some of the things I'm really proud of.
I would say definitely seeing how much my team members have grown. I mean, you've met some team members who've been with me, 10 plus years. Yeah. My second employee ever still works for me. I literally remember she answered the ad in the paper, which we don't do anymore. I mean, no one puts an ad in the paper. That used to be how you got your team. And I was literally in the grocery store, right around the corner from here, in the produce aisle when the phone rang. And I was like, I have an employee. Oh my gosh, wait, she's going to interview.
Who is it?
Still with me. Cindy.
Okay.
She is still with me.
Cool.
So she managed for years. She's kind of stepped down, and so she is she's a grandma and things like that. But she's an assistant manager for me at Short Pump.
Yep.
So she has been with me from the get go.
Awesome.
So it's a long haul, and I do reward my team members who've been with me for that long time.
How do you do it? I mean, we got team leaders listening to this. What works? Because you've refined and
I've changed it multiple times.
Yeah, it's not what it looked like 14 years ago.
No.
What do you do that is so next level?
So a couple years ago, I had a team member who had been with me for probably about 5-6 years, and she was part-time due to health reasons, and she had never had a paid vacation. And I was like, Jill, you've been with me forever. How is that not possible? And she's like, well, I can only work about 15 to 20 hours a week given my health situation, which I was aware of. And I was like, that's right. Paid vacation is only for full-time employees. So I made the announcement at the start of the next year that we were adding paid vacation for both part-time and full-time. So if you only work 15 to 20 hours a week, because that's all you can do for health reasons, your children, whatever your situation might be, you are going to get a paid vacation for your average number of hours. And full-time obviously has had it, and then we also expanded it. So when I started with Sport Clips, I followed the recommendation. They get 1 week paid vacation after a year, and then the second week after 18 months, 2 weeks, a year from there. Mm-hmm. So I added in, if you've been with me for 5 years, you get 3 weeks paid vacation. And if you've been with me for 10 years or longer, you get 4 weeks paid vacation. Wow. So yes, I have multiple people with 4 weeks paid vacation a year.
I like how you said 10 years or longer. Like you cut that off because at some point someone's going to be with you for 20 years and it would just keep going up and up. So, but that's a high class problem.
Yeah, and if I do acquire a store, I give them credit for the time that they were with the prior team leader.
How many? So what's the breakdown on how many stores have you out of your Florida, Virginia? What do you call it? The Dream Team?
Yeah, Florida, Virginia Dream Team. I've got the shirt on.
Your FLVA Dream Team stores. How many of those were GOs, grand openings, that you physically opened versus how many did you acquire?
Out of the ones I have, so obviously because I started with my ex-husband, so I built originally 9 stores in Virginia. I only have one of those stores, just the way we divided the market. Yeah. And then in Florida, we came into Florida, actually Sport Clips brought us down in there, and then we ended up buying 4 stores from 3 different team leaders, bought 5 licenses. So I am building my 5th store. That's when I get the keys to on Friday down there.
So you're very familiar with Florida permitting laws and construction and all that kind of stuff.
They're not
sound
fun.
thrilled.
No, they're not. My architect, I love him. His name is Steve.
Yeah. Shout out to Steve.
Shout out to Steve and all the problems.
Saving your bacon a number of times, I'm sure.
Yes.
So how do you do that? How do you split time? You've got 2 daughters. You're a single mom, so you got 2 daughters. You have stores in Virginia and Florida. You live in Virginia. I imagine you got to get down to Florida. As involved as you are as a team leader, you have to get down to Florida every so often. How does your travel work?
So I have joint custody of my children and my dogs. So I have my kids and my dogs every other week. So my kids stayed with me this week. This is their week to be with their dad, but they stay with me through my birthday. But they're going back to their dad today, so I'm flying to Florida tomorrow.
Okay.
So it started off with hotels. There was one hotel in particular in Orlando that I stayed at a lot, to the point where even I knew the guy was new at the front desk. But he'd already recognized me. He's like, "Hey, welcome back." I'm like, "Okay, that's really sad that you, who are relatively new, already know me." So I did take a place in Florida last November, and that has really made my life easier. So now I just grab my computer bag, off I go. I've got Sport Clips attire down there, workout attire, everything, and it lets me just kind of go back and forth.
And one of the things that I'm interested in is I see you're very active on social media, and so I too am active on social media. Newsflash. I love to see when because I'll see the teams themselves post stuff. Rarely do I see a team leader post things, and it seems like whenever you're traveling or when you're Florida or your Virginia stores, you're talking about a new store coming, or you're doing some hype for your team. Can you describe a little bit about your approach to social media and how that's working for you?
It's kind of one of those things. Back when I had my day job, I had to tweet. I hated it.
Really?
Oh my gosh, yes.
For what?
My director of marketing there would literally, I'd be in a board meeting and she'd be like, "When last time you tweeted?" And I was like, "No, please no." And so obviously I didn't embrace that at first, but social media has definitely just taken a whole new level. I already mentioned way back when we used to get all of our team members by placing an ad in the paper. Our top marketing effort way back when I started was the full page Sunday insert. Like that was the home run. You're like, it's Sunday.
Right, yeah. Everyone's going to read that.
I've got an ad in the paper for more team members.
You're just waiting by the phone.
I got a full page, glossy ad in the Sunday paper. Like Sunday's going to rock. And that's not how we get our team members anymore. It's not how we get our clients anymore. So it is that social media, and I do like to hype it.
Preach.
I can tell you, come Friday morning, you're going to see a video because I'm getting the keys to my store, and it's one that they've gutted the shopping center, so we're anxious to see what the space looks like now, because even where the storefront was isn't where the storefront is anymore. Yeah, they literally took the storefront off and moved the doors and put a whole new storefront on. So we're anxious to see the space now that the landlord has finished their work. So you will see that. But we'll also, do social media like I posted when we did the Gibbs event, how we had our teams together in both places. And it kind of brings the community together, not only our stylists, our team members, but even, when I've lived all across the country, family members see what I'm up to, sorority sisters.
Well, and that's great for Sport Clips. It's spreading the brand, but really, especially when you tag your team members in the videos, guess what? All of their friends and family see it as well. So there's positive interaction and feelings about Sport Clips, and I bet some of your team members have friends that are stylists that work elsewhere who they're going, man, no one that we don't have exciting days like this, or no one publishes and posts and does all this stuff for us. And there's a little bit of jealousy, and so I think that it's a great recruiting tool, what you're doing. Whether you're intending it to be that or not, I don't know. Maybe a little tongue-in-cheek. That's part of the method to the madness. But kudos for the social media endeavors that you're taking, because I see them, I love them, and I know and that your team loves them as well. We're already 30 minutes into this thing, if you can believe it or not. So I want to get your thoughts on a couple other things before I have my fun questions that I want to ask you about. So we're talking about now, we're in the highlight section of your Sport Clips career. You've actually led, we call it TLAC, Team Leader Advisory Council. Am I getting that right? Acronyms and me, we don't get along really well, but what is it, and what was your, because I want to know what your role in it was, and what it kind of impacted in Sport Clips.
Okay. So I ran for TLAC. That was also kind of in that post leaving my job. All right, I'm fully committed to Sport Clips. Let's take this to the next level. So I ran for TLAC, which was a 2-year term, and thoroughly enjoyed it. It was kind of, you start to get more involved with the executive team. You're a sounding board, a test market for different things, and it really just kind of made you, if you're going to do it, we always say, I drink the Sport Clips Kool-Aid. No one can deny that I don't drink it. And so TLAC was really a good kind of I think, starting point to taking my team leader, how I'm operating to that next level. I was fully invested, okay, I'm willing to donate my time to do this. And I enjoyed it so much that I ran for a second term and became TLAC president at that time. So I was an officer for 3 years, president the last year. And that, so for those of you who have Salon Ultimate and like it, been involved on that.
If you don't, keep your comment. No.
If
you don't, then you don't know shortcuts. you weren't around for that. If you don't like Salon Ultimate.
Yeah, and that whole thing, online check-in and things like that, and
so that was initiatives that you guys led, rolled out, tested.
Yes, I remember. So we were trying to get online check-in, and we couldn't do it with the old platform. We couldn't keep it stable longer than 10 minutes. Gordon would check in online. By the time they got down to the store, it had already crashed, and it was phenomenal. You never want Gordon showing up, and you're like, it's already down, and he's like, dude, I didn't come
10
that
minutes
far.
later.
And so I remember getting the phone call. Because I had weekly calls with Mark Carteret, who was the president at the time, and I mean, we had been fighting, and just not us fighting, but we'd been fighting to get online check-in and to get it stable, and it just wasn't. And I remember it was the day before I opened my Claremont store. We had a standing call every Tuesday, and I was like, hey, I'm just touching base. I'm about to take my team out to dinner to celebrate our store opening tomorrow. And he's like, well, yeah, we're pulling the plug. He's like, we are going to fire our point of sale system. And I'm like, who are we going to? And I'm like, amen, I'm there with you. Let's do it. I'm like, but where are we going? He's like, I don't know. And literally within a couple weeks, we had Sun Ultimate in one of the company stores. A couple weeks after that, I had it in one of my stores. So I was the 5th store to get it.
Wow.
And it was just okay, I want it in my other stores. How fast can I get this in my other stores? So I have obviously been heavily involved, and that was one of the reasons why I chose not to run for a 3rd term for TLAC, was staying involved with Sun Ultimate. I'm still on the technology, committee and the calls so that we still do it. We're now down to every other week. It used to be twice a week. It was Tuesdays and Thursdays. Like we had these calls.
It was probably budgeted for an hour, and then it ran over, and yeah.
Yeah, I did pick up my daughter from school, take her home to change for soccer practice. She went to soccer practice and still picked her up when we were still on the call, troubleshooting all the issues that we were dealing with. But that, like I told Sport Clips, I was like, hey, I am not going to run for a third term. I am going to stay focused on Sun Ultimate. And stay involved with that and let the new TLAC president be able to talk to Sport Clips about something other than Sun Ultimate and online check-in, the app. That's good. All those things that we were working towards. And so, and it was, and I know that Wayne, who took over from me, he's closing in. I think 4 years is kind of about that should be the term limit. It's not a term limit, but I think we've all self-imposed because the president before me had done like a 4-year stint, the president before him as well. So I think that kind of the 4 years is a good time to move on.
We've already discussed that you are heavily involved with team members. So I know a cause that you're passionate about is the Wayne McGlow Memorial Fund.
Yes.
And I know this because we went to one of your stores yesterday and we're interviewing one of your team members. You were holding the camera, the phone, while we were recording the video, and she's telling the story, and I look and you're crying, off camera. You're crying about the story that she's telling. So for those that don't know, can you explain what the Wayne McGlow Memorial Fund is, what it's intended to do, maybe numbers around, since you're the CPA in the room, how many people have been helped by it, the amount raised? Can you just give me the lowdown on it, please?
Okay. So for those who haven't been at the huddle, I've been, I think, on stage now 5 or 6 years talking about the Relief Fund. So that was one of the things that I got involved with TLAC. It was very new at the time. And in one weekend, we lost an area developer, Wayne McGlow. He was an area developer for Maryland. And we also lost two team members in 2 separate car crashes across the country. And that's when the Logan family was like, we need to do something. We have reached the mass numbers that our team members are going to have situations that they're going to need help. And so the Relief Fund was started. That's when the stores started donating $5 a week. We're now to $10 a week to help, and then people donate more. We do a lot of fundraising, and so we really have helped a lot of people. And it's at this point we've helped over 400 team members across the country. We have given out almost $2.4 million in relief payments. And the payments vary. I mean, some are small. Yeah. Because we will cover like co-payments, deductibles on medical bills. So we, ranging from some people who've, broken their foot, their arm. We can also help cover the lost wages, especially in the hair industry. If they have broken their hand, they can't cut hair. Yep. So while they're recovering from that, making up lost wages, medical bills, all the way to death. We have lost team members. I myself have lost team members. And it's there if they need it. Not everyone needs it. It can help with the medical bills, the funeral, to bury the loved one who passed away. So we've been able to do that. And also with the natural disasters, unfortunately, we've gone through way more than we ever thought. We've even lost a store last year. That was open, was destroyed.
In Florida.
Yep. So it has been there to help in all different levels. And it's really like sometimes when we get the Relief Fund applications, you literally go home and you hug your kid, because we've had team members who've lost children. We've had, obviously team members who have passed away. And it's amazing the different struggles that people have gone through, and then we get the letters back like, thank you.
Yeah. The thing that struck me yesterday when we were with Jenna, the story that about her husband and them receiving the funds is like, she knew about the fund, but there was this level like, I don't want to ask for help.
Yes.
I'm going to try to do it on my own. So sometimes team leaders will need to step in and say, hey, this is what it's intended for. And so, I believe hers, didn't you guys just kind of force it? You just delivered it to her? I mean,
we had
how
to
did that
step
work?
in. The team member is involved. You know, she didn't want the help. You know, you even kind of reference it to it, like her husband didn't think he was sick, and they kind of like had to force him to go, and he was really, really sick. But he's like, no, I'm okay, I'll get through it. And Jenna took that same sort of approach. No, we'll get through it. We don't need the help. And just when the medical bills, I mean, I remember her husband was in the ICU. You know, she got her shifts covered by her team, but then made up those shifts by covering other people's shifts. So she didn't really miss hours, you know, because her team covered it and then she paid it back. But so she didn't feel like she'd lost the wages, but it was the medical bills that she had. And when you have a serious illness like that, it's up to $10,000 where we can really help.
Oh, that's the limit. Wow.
The limit is $10,000.
I thought it was $5,000.
$5,000 is for your car.
Okay.
So if something happens to your vehicle, now we don't. If it's something that was going to be covered by insurance, so we are not to make up for your insurance policy. You've got to have adequate insurance. You've got to be responsible. But sometimes accidents just happen. And so if that sort of situation, it can be $5,000 for the vehicle. We've had help people with their homes that have been destroyed. You know, with water damage, you know, things that weren't covered. And that's where it really can make a difference. And if it is ultimately a death situation, that is up to $15,000.
Wow. What has been your most memorable Wayne McGlone Memorial Fund recipient in your market?
My market, definitely Jenna.
Okay.
But I mean, I've got one right now. She hasn't received the relief fund yet. And I am removed from that. So as we've gotten bigger, we actually have, there are 2 of us who are reviewing applications. We use the 2 managers of the year that we have this year, and then 2 team leaders, and then 2 foundation members. So we have 2 separate committees. So I review the West Coast, Central to West, and then the other committee reviews this side.
So you don't review your own territory?
I don't review my own. And in the past, I'd have to remove myself. But I have a team member right now in Florida who was literally making dinner and had an avocado, freak accident, cutting the avocado, the knife went through her hand.
Oh.
So she severed a nerve, has lost feeling to her hand.
Oh.
So she is still technically out. We are optimistic that she's coming back. I think it happened May 31st.
Jeez.
So, I mean, it's just things like that happen. It had nothing, there's nothing that we would, you know, it wasn't something that she did intentionally. Like, obviously, we won't cover anything that wasn't intentional. Like, if you did something, you know, intentionally, you know, DUI, things like that. Sorry, you're on your own. But that was a complete random accident.
The dangers of guacamole.
Yeah.
I mean, geez Louise.
Yeah, so she obviously won't be doing that again. She'll buy it pre-made, not the raw avocado.
I mean, I got to wind this down soon, but I have a couple other questions. Because I said I wanted to do highs and lows. You when I started this podcast, I mentioned you're a rock star, and literally a rock star, because I think it was a Franchise Business Review names you one of franchising's biggest rock stars, and you embody what it means to be an entrepreneur, independent, strong woman. Was there a ceremony? Like, how do they let you come on stage and play air guitar? Like, what came with that?
Not with that one, just because of the fact a lot of it is done like socially, so it was on the website. And I remember getting contacted by Sport Clips, like, hey, you know, we've nominated you for this, and then like, and you won. Yeah. You got it.
Oh, by the
way. So it's just very much like an honor to be recognized. I mean, I have done so much. I mean, obviously we are more a female oriented business as far as employees, except for, as you saw, it's changing. Yeah. I have male stylists who are quite successful.
Yours might be the first store I've seen 2 male stylists at the same store.
Yes.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it really has changed in like the last year or so. I have some very successful stylists. I actually, at the store that I'm anxiously awaiting them taking first place, the second highest take home is with a male stylist named Miles. So
and your look finalist was from Florida, Christian. Obviously a male stylist. So you had a successful career prior to Sport Clips. Now you've had this successful career with Sport Clips. This is gonna sound just, what am I doing? I got 2 questions here. What's been your best day at Sport Clips, and what's been your worst day? Let's start with, what was your worst day at Sport Clips?
There's been a lot of those. So I think I kind of have to think back to
early years.
Well, I mean, the early years was just crazy, insane. I think probably one of the lowest days was the day I got a call that my manager had a stroke.
Which store?
She was in Florida 205.
Okay.
She had been with me. She'd actually been on my senior leadership team for a while. She was involved in a car crash that itself had some issues. And so she had just recently rejoined the team and then had a stroke.
Was it at work? Was it at home?
She was at home.
Okay.
She wasn't at, with us at the time. And, so just, we were so excited to have her come back.
Yeah.
And she definitely drank the Sport Clips Kool-Aid, had been with the system for a while, and then just watching her struggle. That she literally, we kept that manager position for quite a while. Like, we held it for her. And we're like, can she make it back? And, just watching her struggle.
What's her name?
Christy.
I think it's telling that I asked you what your worst day was, and it wasn't, the stock market crashed and nobody was getting haircuts. It wasn't financial. It wasn't anything to do with the situation that we were talking about yesterday with the bathrooms and the porta potties. I was going to say something else. The code name that we had for it. It wasn't anything. It was related to a human being. It's somebody that you're close with, and the impact on their health, and that was your low day, which just goes to speak to how relational you are, and why you're a great team leader, because you love and care for your team members, and they care for you. So what's been your best day?
I'm going to say something more from recent. I have a store, ironically still Florida 205, the same store that Christy was at.
Yeah.
When we had to, she couldn't come back as the manager. So we kind of had made some adjustments there, and we transferred Dee there as the manager probably about 6-7 months ago. And Dee was pregnant at the time, and she was just doing okay. So Dee returned from maternity leave roughly July 1st, and she had gone to some classes kind of while she was still a little bit out on her maternity leave, but she came back and she was like, I'm going to drink the Sport Clips Kool-Aid. 5-point play, every client, every day, all 5 points. And watching her store, this is the one that should be in first place from last week's numbers, they have dramatically improved their numbers. And just because she's holding them accountable, like literally all 5 points of the 5-point play, watching their take home, watching their back bar go skyrocketing. And one of the things I've even talked to my teams about this when we had our meetings in the last couple weeks, their shopping center is not a strong shopping center. It is one that's about to get a $10 million facelift by the landlord. The landlord even personally called me. He's like, hey, will you do a new LED sign as part of this renovation? I'm like, absolutely. But they haven't started it yet. He even said, he's like, this shopping center looks like it was from the 60s. And I was like, okay, since you said it, I'm going to agree with you. It does. It needs an overhaul. And to watch this store, this is one of the original stores inside Sport Clips. It had the blue. That was the store that had the blue tile. And that's how old this store is, before the black and red. And just watching how this team, in not a great shopping center, it'll be fantastic once the facelift is done, can throw down these numbers. It's not the team's been there for a long time, and they went from okay numbers to they were number 2 in take home, number 26 in paid back bar, and they were annoyed. They're like, they lost number 1 in take home by a penny. And that was at like $4.75.
I don't think they have anything to worry about this next time.
They don't have it this time. I'm gonna
$5 take home or whatever it was.
$5.29.
No, okay, to be specific, Miss CPA.
So it's amazing watching how it's never too late. You can take a team if they embrace it, and that is something that I think has really happened over the last couple of years. I had heard some other team leaders and Brad, I'm going to throw you out there. I had to stare at your numbers on my whiteboard in my
Brad
office.
Witt?
Yeah, Brad
Okay.
Witt. My office is back there. My whiteboard is on there. I stared at his numbers that he had thrown down. Like, he's like, I'm doing 50% paid. I'm doing $250 take home. And I'm like, how in the world are we going to get there? Jenna was the first manager who said $3 take home, 55% paid as her goal for the quarter.
Wow.
Blew it out of the park.
Yeah.
And it's just...
Big, hairy, audacious goals at the BHAG, is that what you call them? Yeah.
And it has been truly the 5-point play, but we all do the 5-point play, but it's every client, all 5 points. And that's even like Kristen, who's my manager at 601 in Florida. She was one that really started turning Florida around. And my assistant manager, Leanne, who was there, I'm like, Leanne, you started as a receptionist. Like, she was in beauty school, finished as a receptionist, came on with us. And she never had great numbers. And then when she started being under Kristen, when Kristen became the manager, when she moved here from Wisconsin a couple years ago, Leanne's numbers started improving. And I was like, what happened? And she's like, I was doing the 5-point play, but I was
funny how that works out.
I was self-selecting which points of the 5-point play based on the client.
Wow.
And Kristen held me accountable, made me do it for everyone. And she said, ironically, the clients who I wouldn't even talk about, product knowledge with them because I was like, oh, they're not gonna get anything. She's like, those are the clients now that I would have chosen proactively not to do anything. Those are the ones that are all excited about the product knowledge and the education and getting the products to take home to keep their hair looking that way at home.
God forbid people follow the 5-point play.
Yes.
What their stores would look like. It was a trick question, by the way, when I said, what is your best day at Sport Clips? You were supposed to say August 6, 2019, when you toured 9 stores on your birthday with the director of marketing.
Well, I want to know what we're doing next year.
Yeah, well, Florida, right?
Yeah.
We'll do the Florida market next year, so heads up, Florida. Hopefully we'll be maybe 13 stores by then out there.
Maybe 13 or 14.
So, I've got 10 questions. Can I ask you these 10?
Sure.
And then you can get back to staring at your whiteboard and hitting your numbers. Number 1, you're Wonder Woman here, so which superpower would you most like to have?
So we actually did this the other day in a leadership, and the 2 things that were offered were to be invisible or to fly. And it was kind of an interesting one. I have severe motion sickness. So to fly, no good. Okay. So I would say I would go with the invisible, that one. And it would let me see if my team members are really doing the 5-point play, every client, every time, all 5 steps.
That would be, that would be handy. I would think flying, though, getting back and forth to Florida more quickly. But you might like just traveling in style and on a plane and not have to. Yeah,
JetBlue does a good job. They fly direct.
What is your personal motto?
My personal motto, I would have to say, when I look at kind of within Sport Clips, is that I want to treat everyone the same, everyone fairly. I do not cave on schedule preferences. We hold everyone to the same standard of, you've got to treat everyone the same. You've got to treat everyone fairly.
That sounds treat others the way that sounds familiar.
That sounds familiar.
Number 3, other than where you live now, and you've lived a lot of places, where else in the world would you most like to live?
Well, I am moving to Florida. That is happening.
Okay.
I already have a place, but my oldest wants to go to college in Florida. So that will be the transition next. I don't really know. I mean, I've traveled a lot, so I've been lucky enough to do that. I think right now my next place is I'm going to become an official Floridian.
Okay. There are worse places in the world to live than Florida, especially in the winter. What sound or noise do you love?
Sound or noise? Those of you who've been in Sport Clips, the central vacuum when you're in the back, it's a love and a hate. Okay. It's annoying if you're trying to have a meeting with a team member, but it also means that a client just finished the haircut.
Ka-ching! That's what we should change the sound to somehow. We should have that on there. What sound or noise do you hate?
I would say I do not like, and this definitely goes to one of your low points with Sport Clips, is when my phone goes off in the middle of the night for an alarm for something stupid. Yeah, I've had this recently we did have our store broken into, but they broke into our store to break into GameStop next to us.
Oh, okay.
So let's just say we've added additional glass break and more motion detectors. So, but the cops did catch them on the exiting the store.
When your phone rings in the middle of the night, it's never like good news. Like,
No.
hey, just wanted to let you know you won $1 million.
Yeah, no.
All right. Question number 6. When they make a movie of you that's based on the story of your life, okay, who do you want to play the main character?
Wow. That's a great question.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It's a new one. So these are new ones that I slip in every now and again. So if you listen to the podcast, you don't already have them
Thank you.
answered.
Okay, so the only thing that just comes to mind, only because I got this as a kid, is that people always said I look like Marie Osmond.
Okay.
As a kid.
Okay.
And then when she started making the comeback, I started getting it again.
Right. You can dance. She can dance.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know how you can sing.
Country,
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's just what comes to mind. But other than that.
All right. No, I could see that. I mean, she's obviously quite a bit older than you, but still.
Yeah.
She can play the older version. Now what? So this movie, what should it be called? What should the title of the movie, based on your life, be called?
Controlling Your Own Destiny.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I left. I was doing extremely well in public accounting. Walked away from that to follow my passion of teaching and being able to spend more time with my kids. That's when I was pregnant with my first one, Samantha. And then, I left that to do sport clips and kind of control my own destiny.
Yeah. And here you are.
Here I am. Who knew what your first summer job at the age of 16?
Sweeping up hair for 25 cents.
Yeah, I could turn back then.
Or reception.
I was $4 an hour when I started.
Okay. Yeah. That's not minimum wage in California anymore. Just so
no,
you know.
It's not.
All right. What's the sound? If there's a band that does the soundtrack for your movie, who does the band have to be?
Oh my goodness, you are awful with your questions. So my daughter Jessica, so she's my 13-year-old, my little Spitfire. So she plays music in the car, and we do some little sing-alongs, and there's a couple ones. But we have some running jokes, just based on like her age and like me coaching cheer. So like Justin Bieber, we had done some songs to that.
Okay.
She is hitting me up to take her to Shawn Mendes concert in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So I would say just some of the songs, but I will have to say we've done some sing-alongs to the Teen Beach movie. I mean, these are just some throwbacks, and also some
High School Musical.
High School Musical.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So and that, and then
this together. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
so
it.
there's just kind of been some of those songs, and it's kind of funny. Like I drop her off. Her school's right across the street, her middle school. So I drop her off on the way to my office in the morning. It's just easier than her taking the school bus, since I'm literally across the street. And so she just plays music, and we kind of sing along.
So she has to pick who the band's going to be for the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll give it to Jessica.
2 more questions. What do you consider your greatest achievement?
My greatest achievement, my 2 kids, watching my 16-year-old, I took her on a college tour her freshman year, and people were like, she's a freshman, like, what are you thinking? But she had said, Mom, I want to go to school in Florida. And I was like, okay, your grades are good, but they're not as good as they could be. And so I took her on that tour, and I showed her the top 4 schools in Florida. We did a road trip. And then I showed her 2 community colleges that would feed into the top 2 schools that I knew she liked. And I was like, so if you don't get into the school, this is your path in.
Yeah.
And watching her improve her grades last year, I mean, she also took a class over the summer to get another elective. She wants to do marketing.
Nice.
So she took
girl.
another elective over the summer. Also it was a course in an honors AP class to get above a 4.0 in that class, threw down the A. Well, also she got a job. She wanted to work outside Sport Clips just so she'd have an idea of having a job, which I fully appreciated. So she worked at Sky Zone Bouncy House. And she just got a job at Drive Shack, so she's going in there, and just watching her do that. while also being on a competitive all-star cheerleading team. So she is an athlete, a student, and working. And
you're not a proud mom.
I mean,
I'm just gonna let you know you could
watching her
you could afford
mature,
to be prouder of your kids.
Yeah, watching her mature, and even just like watching now Jessica. I mean, Jessica started. I mean, she grew up around sport clips. I mean, she's had more dum dums than probably most kids. And even just watching like her grow up and watching her mature and just become more responsible.
Yeah.
You know, like even just the little things, like if we're heading out the door, she, oh mom, don't worry, I put the dogs up. Just put them in their crates, which is their happy place, and watching them become who they are.
It's not required that parents say their greatest achievement is their kid, but more times than not, they do. I mean, and I don't think any have elaborated the way that you just did. So I think you get the gold star for being the proudest. The last question: if heaven indeed exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Well done.
Well done. Well, you're doing it. That's for sure. You don't lack ambition or energy or effort, and I know, speaking on behalf of all the Sport Clips, how proud we are of you. You are a shining example of what is right with our system and what it takes to do well and to be able to be told you've done well. But thank you for your 14 years. I don't know if you have 14.
We're in our 14th.
You're in your 14th.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, do you have 14 more in you? That's really what I'm really wondering here. Let's see. Let me add the numbers together. I think you do. So, and who knows how many stores if you're 21, 22 stores and into your 14th year, who knows what the future holds. But we appreciate you. Appreciate your time today. Your stores, your markets are amazing. You are literally one of the crown jewels of Sport Clips. So thank you for joining us on the Hall of Fame podcast.
Thank you.
And we'll talk to somebody else next week and hope you guys can join us then. Thanks so much.
Bye, everyone.
Hey, good job. Look at that, right in an hour. So,
wow.
Sweet spot. Yeah, 45 minutes to an hour. I mean, there's no way I'm getting away less than that. I mean, we literally could have gone 5 hours with stories and tips.